I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
2016 has been behind us for a few weeks now, almost a month in fact, but it's still fresh enough on our minds to discuss its contributions to the world of film. Hello everyone, Steven here, writer, creator, and nerd to the core, coming to you today to discuss my favorite titles from my favorite art form. Yes, it was, in my personal opinion, a very strong 12 months as far as movies go. We had those movies that lived up to my expectations, exceeded my expectations, and even a few awesome surprises that managed to pop up along the way. I'm here to talk about the 10 that impressed me the most. Now, before anything else, I do want to clarify that I did not see every movie that came out in 2016. I missed a lot of the quote-unquote Oscar bait films, and a few films I actually only managed to see, 2 on this list in fact, right after the new year actually started. But there were still plenty I saw that making this list only top 10 was actually quite a challenge, and I think that's a sign for a very good year. Regardless, though, it does bring up my honorable mentions. These are films that I definitely left feeling positive about, but just didn't make the final cut. They include Zootopia, a surprisingly dark film from Disney wrapped in a cliched but still enjoyable storyline. It was one of many great animated movies to come out this year. Problem is, I just kind of enjoyed most of those more. The Jungle Book, Disney's most recent live-action remake of an animated classic that I hold very near and dear to my heart. I liked the visuals, the voice acting, and especially the kid they got to play Mowgli. It just didn't wow me the way I was hoping it would. But then again, I'm probably a little bit biased in this regard. Arrival, a very interesting take on a First Contact movie. Great ideas and performances across the board here. It just moved a little bit too slow for my personal preferences. Still, it does make me very excited about Blade Runner 2049, which is being helmed by the very same director. Star Trek Beyond, as well as Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I made a double mention of these two because both appeared on my top 7 anticipated films of 2016 list. And I kind of feel the same way about both of them. Liked them, but didn't love them the way I was hoping to. Still though, I'm very excited to see where each franchise goes from this point on. And finally, we have Finding Dory. Now, I want to say that this film fought with another animated film for my number 10 spot, but lost out on a personal preference because I just prefer hand-drawn animation over 3D animation. Still though, it was great to see the follow-up to my favorite Pixar film still going, what proved to be such a strong one at that. With that being said, let's not delay any longer. These are my top 10 favorite movies of 2016. Now, I'm kind of cheating with this first entry, but grant me a reason to really explain myself here. You see, this movie originally was released in Japan in 1991, literally just over a month before I was born, in fact, and it never made its way into American theaters. That was, however, until the beginning of this year, though, when Western audiences like myself finally got to experience it at last. I am, of course, referring to Only Yesterday. Yes, the great film by the legendary Studio Ghibli finally got an English dub in the States, and the results are a thing of beauty. The whole film has a very dreamlike feel to it. Everything from the animation and the pacing especially give it... There's really no way I can say it better than a relaxing vibe. Like, it's honestly as if you were just lying in a grassy field staring up at the sky watching the clouds go by. Except, of course, the moments when it has to be down to earth or serious, and it does those well too. It's just a very simple coming-of-age story, and now at last I can finally see why it's so beloved by so many people. So for our next entry, we go from being calm and relaxed to straight up scared out of your pants. Yes, there were actually quite a few good horror films in 2016, and I feel like Don't Breathe was the one that actually entertained the most people. However, just as I prefer hand-drawn animation over 3D animation, I very much prefer supernatural horror over realistic horror, which is why I think the number 9 spot rightfully belongs to Lights Out. Yes, this was one of the biggest surprises of the year. Not the biggest, we'll get to that in just a moment, I assure you. But what I loved is that this so easily could have been an over-cliched mess, but instead we got something very reminiscent to the original Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I really liked the characters first up, the main girl, her younger brother, her mom, who had quite a lot of depth to her, and even her boyfriend, who could so easily could have been a throwaway idiot. I thought they were all great and really shined here. I love that the film took every advantage of every situation it had, but above all else, the movie was very quiet, and this really helped to generate a feeling of suspense and make us feel like we were trapped in the darkness, not only with the people, but especially with the monster. Yeah, there were still a few cliches and loud jump scares from time to time, but on a whole, this was definitely a film that made me rethink sleeping with the lights out. I'm sorry, it's just, had you told me a year ago that this film would have made my top 10 list, I probably would have laughed. A lot. But, as it turns out, this movie actually managed to make me laugh more than many films have done in quite some time, which is why I'm happy to say that I was completely wrong about Deadpool. Yes, the first of a few great comic book movies to make this list, Deadpool was the one I think had the most working against it. We all remember how Wade Wilson was portrayed, so to speak, in that other film, and I think it was making a lot of people hold their breaths. Well, now this new film is out, and not only did it prevent that other film from holding it back, it used it to its best advantage. This is one of the most self-referential films in a while, and I love it because of that. But that's not the only thing about it that's great. Ryan Reynolds, I now think, is or was born to play this role. He just nails the character perfectly. The film's mockery is very intelligent, as I said before, and even the villain of the movie, something I think a lot of comic book movies have been struggling to get right for a while now, is actually a lot of fun, and it all came together for one very fun movie. Honestly, there's not too much more I can say about it than hold on to yo chimichangas. Deadpool! Now, those of you who know me personally know that I'm not the biggest fan of the musical genre. I'm not really sure what it is, but for some reason it's always been the one that has had the hardest time impressing me. When one comes along that does catch my attention, however, not only will I love it, I will really love it. Such is the case with La La Land. Now, this is one of the 2 movies I told you that I only managed to see in the last week or so, but in that time, I still haven't been able to get the music out of my head. Someone in the Crowd, Audition, and Especially a Lovely Night, among others, I find myself humming all the friggin' time. And the movie is so beautiful, both literally and figuratively. As I said before, the music is fantastic. The cinematography alone is worth a trip to the theater. Los Angeles in this movie, though, it's just, oh my gosh. It's a thing of beauty. But as with every musical romance, it all boils down to our romantic leads. And Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling just kill it in this movie. I love them when they were together, sparking chemistry. I love them when they were apart, dealing with their own problems. I just loved them, period. I know that this movie has already won quite a few Golden Globe Awards, and now I'll be hoping for it to win just as many, maybe even the most prestigious of all, when Oscar season comes around. Next on the list, we have our second stop in the animation department. Now, this was my most anticipated film of the type in 2016, and while it didn't end up being my favorite, I can still tell all of you that I very much adored my voyage with Moana. As a lifelong Disney animation fan, this gave me everything I could have wanted and more. It's gorgeous, for starters. One of the most gorgeous films they've had in quite some time, and for Disney, that's saying a lot. The way the Pacific Islands are recreated was so well done that had the CG characters not been there, a lot of the time I thought I was looking at the real thing, like at documentary style footage. The music, once again, as I'm sure you all know, is fantastic. I'm sure lots of you, like me, left the theater humming these melodies, singing these lyrics, and went straight to iTunes or whatever store it is and buying the soundtrack straight on. But the film, of course, rides on the shoulders of our main characters, and I love Moana and especially Maui in this movie. I think they work great together, the story provides them with a lot of depth as it goes on, and the voiceover work by newcomer Auli'i Cravalho, who I'm hoping to see in a lot more stuff after this, and veteran actor Dwayne Johnson really give them a lot of personality. Now, there are still a few Disney-esque cliches in this, which of course keep it from having a higher spot, but all those things I said before, as well as a very fantastic plot twist, definitely make up for it. This is a voyage I look forward to multiple trips many times in the future. You're welcome.